because Eurogamer were the people who did the investigation.
Yeah, all of the staff that Tom Phillips was in touch with are keeping him completely up to date with everything they're doing internally, and that's great for us.
So, a CEO in gaming willing to actually talk to their staff. So, we're just going to go through this. We're going to talk about Team 17's response and work out what we think this means for the publisher. So, Pattinson subsequently addressed Team 17 in a company-wide meeting last Friday, which was the day before our video on this topic came out, in which he gave a lengthy response and announced an immediate pay review for staff in the QA department. Began with a statement from him, and he actually joined Team 17 from PlayStation last October to lead as its new CEO. Basically, Debbie Bestwick is CEO of Team 17 Group. He is CEO of Team 17. So I guess he would be a direct report to her. So he did that before going into a lengthier deep dive into basically everything Eurogamer brought up. Which I imagine is awkward, because if it is basically everything, then Debbie was brought up in the Eurogamer article. That's your boss, dude.
Almost everything.
Yeah, maybe that's the almost. So, let's talk about the NFTs. They got a brief mention, something that Pattinson branded as totally outside the principles and values we have as a company, alongside a detailed talk on pay bonuses, workload, and culture. That's quite funny because, you know, totally outside the principles we have as a company. Meanwhile, what did Debbie put onto Facebook? You know, I dare anyone to question my ethics. Sort of had that belligerent post.
Yeah, so
that people rose.
Yeah, I think the fun thing there is him saying that is either a tacit admission that it came from up the chain. He disagreed with it but couldn't fight it back, so it had to happen, even though the CEO didn't want it to. He was overruled. Either that, or because you have to think of what people can say things that aren't true.
Yes.
So he could just be lying and not actually think that. But, if you're to give someone the benefit of the doubt, then you could imagine this is him being overruled.
So for the almost everything being covered then, corporate politics. So the one thing not covered, and very notably not covered, was the claims of poor management concerning Debbie Bestwick, who is the chief of Team 17 Group, after she bought out the other founders in 2010. Those things, not at all covered here. Now, going back to what the CEO of Team 17 said, he said, "I'm committed to taking action. I won't brush over anything that was said or ignore any of the points being made. It will all be thoroughly investigated. You have my guarantee." On the topic of pay then, he said that their aim was to pay people in line with the market rate, and that they had participated in a benchmark study with data from across the industry, but he acknowledged the benchmarks are always changing, and this would be looked into in their next annual salary review, which is in April. But he has asked for an immediate pay review of the QA department, because their pay was starting around 16k, which is just like not enough. Pretty simply not enough. Yeah, right. Bonuses then, where he kind of deflected, but said he understands the point. Yeah. Basically, we seemingly arbitrarily pay you more or less, so let's assume it'll be less. And then that coming from a CEO that has no money issues is frustrating, because people look at Debbie Bestwick, who is the group CEO, and her 200 million valuation and recent 7.4 million, compensation.
Yeah, so that's the gist of what he said. What he literally said was, bonuses have been discretionary, so your lifestyles have to be balanced against that fact. But we do need to make a better job making sure people know what we need to achieve for those bonuses to happen. Yeah. So that's just that's the thing where it does boil down to just. Sorry, we have invisible goalposts and invisible goals, so you just arbitrarily have less money. We'll maybe try to fix that, but don't think about it too hard.
Yeah, rough. Now there was an elephant in the room that was addressed, which is good, and it is workload. Basically said he acknowledged that he has seen real problems and wants to rejig their output to focus on fewer games with a higher quality bar. Big. Now that's interesting, because that is actually a change in direction. And that's also even more interesting, because where did this come from? Well, the company going public.
Yep.
Maybe are these things coming from the top? Has Bestwick lost a little bit of clout, and some of the other people in the sort of very senior team have been able to get their way? Hard to speculate, but obviously this is a change. We're struggling, he says. As we grow, there is always going to be an increasing need to sign potentially more titles or to refocus and sign higher quality titles with more commercial potential. And that's my focus. I'm trying to improve the ratio. I don't want to just see us in a continual treadmill of just filling the pipe. And that is, I think, vitally, vitally important to basically Team 17 being respectable, which they certainly would want. And what's fun is he actually engaged properly with the topic of people leaving, because if you look at their Glassdoor, it ain't a pretty picture. They're dropping like flies. And basically the whole, there is no war in Ba Sing Se. That's not actually what's happening here. He's bloody well acknowledged it, which is nice. Saying that, the staff have also suffered through attrition. Now that's rough because, you're on a team. You have your team's workload and people are just dropping out.
Yeah, what do you do? Less work?
Yeah.
No?
Currently, they've got 30 vacancies waiting to be filled. And he says, whilst I can obviously point to the challenges of COVID, the movement of labour, we also have to ensure it's an attractive place to work for potential new hires, but also importantly for existing employees. This isn't going to be resolved overnight, but it does say to me we have more, what? More open heads?
You have open heads? Yeah.
I can't.
Patch was up.
Yeah. He says it's not going to be resolved overnight, but that they have open heads. I've never heard that turn of phrase before. I guess open minds is maybe what you're trying to go for there.
Or open heads as in, there's places, there's heads that need filled. No, hang on, no. There's positions that need filled, I guess.
Yeah. But he says that they have a short-term problem of matching headcount to workload. He just says we'll get there. I mean, obviously, they can't just, go, bam, there's more people. Doesn't work like that. Product quality, then. Yeah. Well, he says he wants to build a closer relationship between the teams, like QA, design, and development, to decide the best path. We have a responsibility to our shareholders, to our investors to hit targets, but we also have a responsibility to our employees, our development partners, and customers to deliver the best products possible. I'm committed to finding that sweet spot. I fucking hate the characterization that this is a sweet spot.
Yeah.
That is messed up. It's not a sweet spot between competing interests.
Yeah.
The long-term situation is you make the customers happy, that makes the shareholders happy. You have to make the customers happy first. Do you know what's a really good example of this? One of the most successful companies on earth. It's called Amazon. Amazon continually put short-term shareholder interest second to giving people the best service and the best deal. Now, obviously, at the expense of workers and all of those issues with Amazon, but the fundamental success story of Amazon is that Jeff Bezos was able to convince the investors that this is a long-term growth company, not a short-term, do you want a massive dividend every single quarter situation. That is what Bezos was able to sell, and that is what basically allowed that company to grow in the way that it did.
Yeah.
And what we keep on having is these gaming companies who are not willing to take that perspective. Which is, you have to suck it up for a bit because we're playing a long game. If you want long-term results, you have to play the long game.
Yeah, I mean, I think that raises an interesting point where it's like competing interests. It does mean that by saying this, he has almost literally said that the best product possible on like a binary scale, it's either best product possible or shareholder happiness. And you're like, if that is how you're willing to talk about it to your staff, if that's how you're willing to internalize what you're doing, then Jesus Christ, we have a problem with public companies in a huge way.
See, it's so weird to me because so there's this sphere of people who are like dividend yield investors. They're basically just investing so they can collect the dividends whenever they are issued.
Yeah.
But the thing is that like when you get really nerdy in stocks, there's not really much of a difference. Like there's a difference in the dynamics of those prices over time, the way that those stocks respond. But, ultimately, like, what is a share in a company? Well, what you want is a share of the future, returns, right? So whether it's the dividend yield or whether the stock is going up, and then that's where you're getting your return. It actually ends up basically, there's a few nerdy videos and deep dives that I kind of went into where it's like actually pretty much all amounts to the same. Which makes me then think, like, okay, you're trying to have this massive war chest and, great profitability so that you can issue really nice, attractive dividends as time goes on in, like, the shorter term, instead of just being like, hey, we're going to increase our stock price by increasing our growth by maximally reinvesting everything that we can. I don't really know.
This is what I think
feels funky.
This I think is very funny because I immediately just think, Well, ask any StarCraft player what to do with gold and gas. Or sorry, ore and gas, yeah. Minerals and gas. What are you going to do with it? You're going to spend it to make more back. That's how it works.
No, you're gonna drone rush for the GSL finals.
Yeah, so it's like, you know, if you're an investor, you'd be shit at StarCraft. There you go.
Suffice to say, getting nerdy in that shit is completely out of our wheelhouse, but you know, there's some opinion at least. Now, QA feeling like second-class citizens. Well, he promised that changes are already in the pipeline and there's more coming. So he basically called out improvements on pay and overtime. He said he wanted to ensure the team was respected within the company. Some of these changes are coming. They're also regulars. Now, sexual harassment, stuff like that. He basically said he had nothing to offer except acknowledging that they really need to work in HR and have zero tolerance policy. Again, this is something you can't just fix immediately. You can institute new policies and try to fairly apply them over time. That's the thing that has to keep yourself. So basically, he says that on the issue of the sexual harassment, they had a zero tolerance policy to any cases and want to improve any difficulties that staff faced raising issues with line managers or HR. We need to create a safe space where everyone can bring things to our attention, and that's something to work on. See, it doesn't matter if you have a zero tolerance policy if the policy does not get enacted properly.
Yep, exactly.
Which is, I mean, that's a lot of people's concerns with Activision Blizzard.
Yeah,
Even.
yeah, they can say, "Oh no, we would never tolerate any of this if only we knew about it. We didn't know about any of it." And you're like, "Yeah, because your HR people fired all the reports out. Fucking idiots."
Yeah. So he basically finishes by saying that they're going to pull things around, and that Eurogamer's reporting, included comments from staff who said they had been proud to work, in particular projects or with particular peers. And speaking to Eurogamer, staff said they're also cautiously optimistic, but obviously, actions speak louder than words.
Yep, and I think that's the vibe I generally got from reading this. I'm mostly really, really impressed that, especially comparing it to Activision Blizzard and how we've seen what Bobby talks to his employees, because we've just seen the videos. We've literally seen Bobby soullessly deliver a terribly scripted thing with no spirit in him whatsoever.
And the
Just
surprising
talking
thing is, it's like, Bobby, I've seen your bit in the movie Moneyball. I'm not saying he can act, but how is he even more of a robot in an internal thing with his own employees than he is being a company CEO doing an acting gig in the movie fucking Moneyball?
Yeah, I mean, there's one thing that I remember we watched, but it's a PBS documentary from years and years ago where there's young Bobby Kotick talking about setting up an early company and working in tech and stuff, and that's all. He's so charismatic. You watch that and you're like, oh, I can see how you've become, the CEO of this big corporation, because you're very focused on money, making ruthless decisions, and you're charismatic. You can get investment pretty easily because you know how to speak to people. And then you just see him talking to staff, and it's like he's talking to robots or bugs. He just doesn't care.
Yeah.
Very obviously, it's just delivered so straight to be pointless and emotionless. Whereas obviously we don't know how Patterson spoke to his staff, but the difference in what's been said is astounding. With this very much feels like someone's going, no, listen, there are problems, we're going to address them. As opposed to, we have always run a fantastic workplace here at Activision Blizzard, and we take everything very seriously. What's everything, Bobby? Everything seriously. No specifics are needed at this time. And same with even, maybe different, but people saying it's like they didn't feel like there was an awful lot they could get from Mike Ibarra at the time during everything going a bit scuffed for Blizzard. And to me, this is just a CEO going, you know what? I wasn't aware of a lot of these issues. Maybe it's because he's fresh or whatever else, but they're highlighted. They're all completely valid. So here's my pledge that we're going to work on them.
Joining in October, maybe he's not aware of the 12 grand starting QA salary from 5 years ago.
Yeah. So then.
There's one thing that is very noticeable though, or notable, and it is where's Debbie?
Yep.
Because ultimately, I think this is this guy who is really not responsible for, technically he is responsible, but he joined in October.
Yeah.
It's the following February. These are problems that have happened for a long time.
Yeah, he's not the one who sowed these seeds. He's the one who's now in charge of their harvest and going, oh, Jesus Christ.
Yeah. I mean, it could even be that trying to fix these things is part of why he ends up becoming CEO.
Possibly, yes.
Because ultimately, one of the things, as an example, is he now taking on what were Debbie's responsibilities last year?
Yeah.
You know, in which case, was it her management style, or maybe lack of awareness, or maybe showing some preferential treatment to people or whatever? Was it that led to these problems? And now he's fixing it anyway. But
Impossible.
the things that led to him having his position have now bubbled up and blown up in his face. But I guess it's like, unlike the Bobby situation, he's went to the staff, they've all went back to Eurogamer. Now, of course, the media junket, like Bobby did a bit of it. He did some media.
Yeah, a wee bit of it.
You know, this guy as well did do some media. He, I mean, basically, like, we've got a roast of Dean Takahashi coming up tomorrow. And it's not because Dean's not good at Cuphead. I don't give a shit about, you know, what games Dean likes or doesn't like. What I do give a shit about is, you know, access journalism that is totally just rolling over for big companies and really going against all the core tenets of journalism. So, yeah, in the same way that he did a sort of a thing playing defense for Quantic Dream when all of their stuff happened, he's basically also done a playing defense thing for Team 17, interviewing this CEO. And the way that he characterizes some things is just completely absurd. So, you know, it's been good. You know, Schreier's joining in and clowning in Dean. Other journalists are joining in, clowning in Dean, because I think they're journalists. They kind of maybe hold some reverence of what a journalism is, and they see Dean not do a journalism. So we'll get into that tomorrow. But at least from what's leaking from inside the company,
Impossible.
we have better sounds than what were coming out of Activision Blizzard. That's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's either a substantially more effective smokescreen for a CEO who doesn't care, or it's a CEO who does actually want to solve problems and is happy to say things like, we're doing an immediate pay review for QA, which is a bit different to Raven QA got fired and they're trying to unionize and there's no comment whatsoever.
Yeah, and I think as a final thing, people wouldn't have faith in Bobby because Bobby was evidently part of the problem.
Yeah.
This guy, maybe not as much part of the problem considering that he's new. So he's a new guy in authority who's saying the right things. Maybe now is the time for the cautious, but, you know, a bit of that all. Yep. So hopefully they fix it. And that's really that for today's video. There's not much else to say.
Yeah, it's just a story of, I mean, it's the right thing to do to follow up on the horrible state of Team 17, and hopefully it gets better and Team 17 can continue to publish great games.
Yeah, that's what we all want. So that's it for us. Let us know what you think, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Impossible.
Hey guys, welcome to our combined 4-player Peacemaker season finale review and season 1 as a whole review. Let's just jump right in. We have episode 8. It's Cow or Never. And oh my god, yes! I'm just gonna say it up front. My man is in this episode. You knew I was gonna be excited. Superman shows up. I kind of mentioned at some point that I'm like, in one of our reviews, I was like, would it be crazy if the Justice League showed up? But I said it passingly because I didn't think that they would have, I don't know. Because the thing with WB is like the contract disputes and what the fuck is going on with Superman and Batman. And unfortunately, he is obscured. He is in darkness. He's in shadows. Fucking WB, DC, just give Henry Cavill the fucking respect he deserves. And it would be an 11 out of 10 if it was Henry right there. But anyways, so as you can tell, I fucking loved this season finale. It had a lot to sort of pay off and to try to stick the landing, and I think it fucking nailed the landing. What do y'all think?
I thought it did a good job, but it's still missing for me. I didn't
no!
like it as much as you did, but it's still enjoyable watch. I just felt like it was missing something.
Hell no. Okay. What about you, Alex?
Yeah, I liked it. I think it was pretty solid, just like the whole season. Like, this is not something that like blew me away with the quality of its like the story writing. I still think it's funny. I think the action is good. I like the character dynamics they've got together. It's just, it's more of the same, which is good. It's like super solid, great TV.
Baby, what do you feel about the last episode?
Well, it
Being
had-
next to me watching it in bed.
like you, it had Jason Momoa, so Aquaman. So I was,
Nice.
I know. Knowing really nothing about Peacemaker and not being a comic book fan, I really, really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed John Cena. He kind of blew me away. I'm the only. He's in WWE.
Yeah, and he had a movie, I keep bringing it up with Joe, like The Marine. I think like
Yeah.
one movie here or there, so his acting chops really...
Yeah,
Really
and the characters, they were all really
I can't carry you.
and I was engaged, which is hard. This is
Yeah.
for you to
You
get
into
me.
more DC stuff, yes. See, that's and this was directed by James Gunn. The previous episodes had different directors, right? And I could definitely tell that everything felt right again to me. The feeling, the jokes were hitting. The action was amazing. This episode has more action than a lot of the other episodes, and I thought it was satisfying. So I'm really surprised that Joe and Alex didn't like it a little bit more. I thought that we were all going to unanimously agree that this was
Still
a
good.
banger of an episode, probably one of the best episodes overall, if not the best. Yeah, so let's go ahead and actually, well, it wraps up. Does it wrap up the story in a satisfying way for you, Joe?
It got everything, like it got the point A to point B the way it was supposed to, but I just felt like it was missing some parts.
I
What
can't.
parts did you miss?
I guess I just wanted more episodes. I guess that's what I wanted. I wanted it to.
You didn't want it to
I didn't want it to end. This one was like kind of quick.
Too condensed.
Well,
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was too condensed. With the whole cow scene.
Yeah, that was like the
That's-
last
it was
episode where
very-
it was only 35
yeah, it's
minutes.
Like
You were like,
it's like,
fuck.
oh, what's gonna happen? It's like, oh, it's gone. Okay, well, that was pretty
I have
quick.
good news for you, Joe. It has now been
Season
officially
2.
confirmed. We all kind of knew it already, but they just announced
It was too
today
late. It was
that it's, yeah, exactly. Because there are several plot threads that aren't necessary, that are kind of left out in the open, setting up, but I still think it was satisfying. It wasn't like there was no answers to this particular thing. We got all answers, and it resolved in a satisfying way for me, and that's why I'm glowing. Alex, do you think it was satisfying?
I was super satisfied with the butterfly plot,
Yeah.
but the issue that I had is what happened at the very end. I don't think it is not how I would have wanted to set up season 2.
Okay.
They are wildly changing the formula for the next season based on like how the story's going to end, and it worries me a little bit because I think they had a winning formula, and I think too often we get series where they got something that works, it's a hit, it gets renewed, and they're like, hey, by the way, we're changing how the whole fucking show works, and it has me more worried. I'm not taking a bunch of points away from it. I still really like this episode. Like I'm in like the 9-ish range.
I can't.
And everything that happened. It's just we've seen incredibly satisfying endings. Like they absolutely nailed it. And it's like, look, they got almost everything right. And I don't think there's anything wrong with something only getting something right.
Yeah, and talking about changing stuff radically, you know, there was another show that's been confirmed as well with James Gunn at the helm. Two things. James Gunn is going to write and direct all of the episodes in season 2 here forward, and I think that is a strength because some of the weaker episodes in this season were directed by other directors. I think James should just handle it himself. I think he had enough fun here that he was like, let's do this a second time, and I'll take full control of it. Because sequels are often harder to, you know, do than the first one, right? It's really hard. And then, but he's doing another show where he says it's in a different genre. It's less of a comedy. And I'm like, ooh, I don't know if that's gonna work.
If it's hyper violent, I'm in.
If it's hyper violent, cool, like The Boys, right? But I just think that the comedy is what sort of plays as a counterweight to some of the serious moments and really elevates it and gives you this good feeling. Like the music you say, I got you singing it, you know, because the theme
Yeah, it gets stuck
song.
in your head.
Start dancing.
I know.
Like this. Yeah. Okay. So let's just go ahead around the table and give the final verdicts for just this episode, not the season overall. We'll do that next. So just episode 8, Joe.
Episode, I think you're part of silhouette.
What? What are you talking about?
You saw a silhouette of Wonder Woman and Superman.
That is not true,
No,
Joe.
I still enjoy this one. This is like an 8 for me, but like Alex said, there's still some stuff that like,
I can't.
kind of left undone, but I guess I'm good at that. Consistency
I can't carry anymore.
Hardcore?
Hardcore.
Adebayo. Only know that because
Yeah.
of Adobo.
Yeah, I remember
My
that.
favorite
Like she was
seasoning.
kicking ass at the end. I'm like, wait, where did
Yeah.
this come from?
Yeah.
It was kind of like.
I guess it was always inside of her, Joe, and she was just uncomfortable in her own role.
She passed her combat training at age 14.
That's what they had said, and we were like,
But
nah,
it-
we don't believe that.
Yeah, exactly. You don't really see anything, but this one she just goes all out. I was like, okay,
I like
all
that.
right.
I
I
like
was
that.
like, yeah. I was like, where did this come from? I'm kind of curious about this and what's going to happen with this.
I can't.
There's some stuff like with her story and her mom.
Adebayo, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of. Oh, you said. I kind of said that this is a 9 for me. I think that the action scene was really good. I love that they kind of mix things up with Economos being just an oaf that doesn't know what he's doing, and you know, even though you kind of see this stuff coming, it's like James Gunn has his formula, but it works. And so it's like, you know his formula, and I know you see what's going to happen, and he does. It was worse than I thought with his injury. And then, I mean, the action scene was incredible. It was super well choreographed. There was some ridiculous shit in there that I absolutely love. It was just like this. It was this close for getting like a 10.
I can't.
I don't actually give a shit about Superman show. I know that may probably pushes it up for you, but like I don't
I am
actually.
overburdened.
I love that they were able to get Momoa.
I can't carry
Flash
anymore.
in there.
And that joke.
Especially,
I was like, I don't know where that
am
came from.
shocked
This is-
WB.
I love
let-
that joke, man. They let him do whatever he wants. That's why I'm
Yeah,
that's why I'm
no, I like
excited
that.
about that part, that the comedy doesn't suddenly change because the Justice League is here. It's the same fucking thing, and he makes a quib at Aquaman, and even Flash is kind of on Peacemaker's side. So, anyways, okay, so 9 out of 10. What about you, Bear?
I think it probably a 9.
Okay.
Yeah, I was biggest disappointed in the last two.
I can't.
Rush, I really liked.
Same here, yeah.
And the action of great action shows. Out loud a lot. Loved it.
Yeah. Same here. Okay, obviously, spoiler, I'm giving it a 10 out of 10. But it's not because what Joe and Alex just said that the Justice League shows up. I was already, having a good time with the episode. That puts it over. What it does do is it goes from 9 to 10 for me with that final joke. The fact that WB and DC will just let James Gunn have that surprise cameo, do whatever he wants within the universe. And what he did within this universe is make a piece of shit character, make me like a piece of shit character. Didn't really like Peacemaker much in the Suicide Squad. Didn't really see why he would get his own HBO Max series. And James Gunn pulled it off. I mean, it went from, grumpy old man to this is one of my favorite characters in the DC universe now. I'm excited for season 2. I'm excited for what more cameos could show up. Disappointed in WB for not having it be Henry Cavill or Gal Gadot, because you notice they only got 2, which is the 2 that are going to have movies coming up, Aquaman 2 and Flashpoint, right? But overall, I thought it was a satisfying ending because, again, like everybody said, the action was satisfying, the jokes were working. They even had time to put in a little twist there and make us go, huh, okay. I'm looking at it at a different point of view from the motivations of the butterflies. And then Peacemaker makes a decision, and I still think it's the right decision. And I think it ends in a satisfying way and sets up potential things for season 2. Of course, I want to see more, but I'm not taking points away from this because I want to see more of this universe, and we're getting more of the universe. So, 10 out of 10 for me on that final episode. It sticks the landing.
I kind of wish he made a joke to Wonder Woman and start looking at some
Oh,
to bring
no,
that
yeah,
back.
that was a missed
That would've been,
opportunity,
yeah.
right?
You can't address her, though.
That might have been
That
right,
would've been
because they didn't have the
funny, though. Here,
actress.
stop looking at me.
Yeah.
Or
And then the
just
shadow
something.
would have been like,
Or if you could have walked away, it's like, you guys checking me out.
Yeah.
Oh,
as
that's
long as
a
he said
good one.
something,
That
that would
would've
have been a great callback. That would have been a great callback.
So we'll give our season 1 overall verdicts after we go through the episode. So now let's jump into the specific plot points. So at the beginning, Adebayo is trying to apologize. Here's where jokes are working, and he's acting like a child. He's just every time she tries to apologize. And of course, Vigilante jumps in too. He's doing his because they're all kids. Anyways, and it tries
Impossible.
to resolve there the different backstories. She's like, look, it's not your fault that your brother died. If you're carrying around all this guilt that your brother died,
I
and
need
that's
mom.
why he has the model. Yeah, peace at all costs because of his brother. And he makes a vow, right? And that plays into the episode later. Yeah, and so Vigilante is like my second best friend. He tells Adebayo eventually that she's his 5th best friend because Eagly is his 2nd, and I guess he puts hardcore and economics above her. I think, yeah, because that was. And then Adebayo calls her mom. Amanda Waller for backup. And it was at that moment that I was like, yeah, I think maybe the Justice League is going to show up when she asked for backup. Can't you send me backup? Mom this,
Yeah, I
mom
didn't
that.
think. I thought you were saying.
Like a B team or
Like
something
it's someone
like
who's
that.
just slightly above
I
them.
was like, there's no way they were going to do
They
it.
probably
Just
would.
drop Weasel off. It's like, what are you gonna do?
That would have been funny. And then they get the helmets together. So the whole plot of this one is to take out the cow. And so they bring a bunch of helmets. What helmets do we got here, Alex? Do you remember?
Anti-gravity, torpedo, sonic blast.
Don't forget the most important one, the scabies. Okay, it gives everybody scabies. Damn, we didn't get to use the helmet. I wonder where that helmet went. But he tries, but they lose the anti-gravity one, which would have been the most helpful one, so he can plant a bomb very easily because Adebayo is explaining her plan, and she accidentally says activate anti-gravity in the thing. And I was like, okay, that wouldn't happen, right? Because it's like voice activation. You didn't fucking make sure that your helmet only recognizes your voice.
But the dad made it.
I know. Well, why wouldn't his dad make the
I
helmet?
know, even more reason.
Right.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. But you got.
But it's funny.
It's funny.
I'm gonna hand wave it for the funniness.
Yeah.
So she says it. It flies off. He's like, "Fuck." Okay. So now they do a joke at Green Arrow's expense. He's a fucking bottom, I guess. What was that?
He
was like
dresses. He dresses
a
up
brony?
as yeah, he goes to furry things as a bottom
Yeah.
with a 4-inch asshole.
Yeah, and and Aquaman fucks fish, but he's like, no, stop making this stuff up, she said, and I like that she's like finally addresses like you just fucking shit all over the arrows, right? Because you have insecurities. And Economics is like, actually, no, that the Green Arrow thing is true.
Yeah.
That's fucked up. And Green Arrow's like, that is not true.
He's broke-ass Batman they invented for no reason in the 50s.
Ouch.
Is
Green
that
Arrow
cable?
fans.
I am
If you look,
overburdened.
it's a fact. They didn't want to dilute Superman and Batman, and so what they did is they made broke-ass Superman and broke-ass Batman to be a part of the Justice League. That's where Martian Manhunter and Green Arrow came from.
Ouch.
It's the truth.
Eagerly takes. Well, I didn't know that. According to you, Eagerly takes helmet off, and they try to get him. I was like, oh, cool. Eagerly's gonna get his own moment. It's gonna be triumphant, and once again,
No,
another
I knew
fucking
that's
great
He's
joke.
like, oh, he's doing it. He's like, no, it's not gonna happen. It's like, yep.
Flies off to the right and explodes.
Not enough
Flies
mom.
off to the right, drops the helmet, and he's fuck. So so they have to rally together to get it done themselves. And, you know, we get a mention of, why did you think that, you know, the eagle hugging him is a sign of anything? It's like, the fuck, you know, because we were questioning that too.
It's
She's
a
like,
miracle.
why wouldn't you think you would run away? And she's like, fuck, I guess I didn't look at it like that. So he's poking fun at his own serious moments, you know what I mean, that you can question. It's that cool script doctor type of stuff where it's like, wouldn't it be funny if he poked, you know, fun at something? And he manages to think of these things and then write it in there. So I think he's a great writer and a great director. And now what we have here is Peacemaker starting to see his father go. And he's so kind of a blowgun, and Harcourt sees it, and so obviously he's had problems that he'll be dealing with in the future. And then, yeah, daddy issues, and that's probably what you were talking about, Alex, when you're worried about season 2, like this setup. No, that's not what you're saying. I think that would be a good thing to keep going. Not only do you still have the Terminator actor,
Oh, he's great.
but he's just fucking awesome. But maybe post-mortem, he can change his ways and realize how big of a piece of shit he is, because it's actually, you know,
Finally gets it.
it's in John's head, right? Making peace with his father, even though his father probably would never make peace with him. But you know what I mean.
he tried to kill him.
Figuratively.
It's
Yeah,
He tried to
exactly.
kill him.
No,
So I think that would be cool
I
for
think
season
it's way
2.
better
What
that
were you
he's-
talking
that
about?
he's
for-
actually a ghost. I actually want him to be haunted
Yeah,
by the
that's-
actual
Hell
sentient
yeah.
spirit of his father, and it's not in his mind. And he has
Oh.
like super secret
real
like
good.
space clan member powers or something. And he's like, I will haunt you
That's
forever.
too over the top.
No,
It's James
Joe,
Gunn
actually,
thing.
I think that, I mean, James Gunn might do something.
No, Autobio blows up the whole thing and just says, this is an investigation, this is who we are, my mother's a war criminal, we have to do all these, and just blows up the whole universe so
Impossible.
it can't exist.
Yeah, that was kind of thrown in there towards the end.
And
It
she could
seemed
just
kind of
kill
unnecessary.
Peacemaker in a second, and she would, because that's what Amanda Waller would do. She'd go, all right, guys, fuck you.
But I
Peacemaker's
think
dead."
it's tied in there where her mom is shocked by her daughter. Her daughter's no longer a little mouse. Her daughter is her own kind of strong, real person. And Amanda's going to find a way around it. And honestly, the government knows just as such. I don't think it's going to have any ramifications of just canceling the program or anything like that. But we'll see.
But, so,
They
like,
can get
but then
more.
why, if it doesn't have impact, then like why I guess what I'm getting is like,
To clear, I think, to clear the team's name. Like, they were forced to do this and they were forced to do that, and it's not necessarily their fault. And she's shifting blame to her mother. While simultaneously, because they saved everybody, then it will be excused. So I think it kind of still wraps
because
itself
she
up.
planted the diary, it's like
Yeah,
her
Adebayo.
penance or
Yeah, exactly. It's showing that I think it was done for that. Like one moment above. Not only here's an apology, Peacemaker, but I'm gonna go one better.
sending
than
my mother to the Hague to be tried for war crimes.
that. Exactly.
Yeah.
So
That's gonna be
that's gonna be unresolved. Well, but that was right at the end. It might be resolved in season 2. But
didn't
I
know
don't
there was
need a
gonna be season
resolution to that right then, though, Joe. It's like that's not one of the things. It's like, oh fuck, well, fuck this whole thing. I'm not disappointed with it that she brought it up because it wasn't resolved instantly in that episode. Anyway, so economics has to get over his fear of not being able to really contribute to the team. They dress him up in a cop outfit, which was wet as shit because, you know, Peacemaker brings up warrior. This is an unspoken warrior saying that people's shit is diarrhea, so I had to clean it. Hey man, I'd be like, thank you, dude. Not fucking complaining about it. So anyways, it goes in there and he has to act like a fucking alien, so that leads to several funny scenes, including a scene where he has to admit that his beard has been dyed the whole time and that he was just trying to look cool, and the alien believes him. When he's first going in, he's like, what are you doing? Where are you going? It's like, I'm going to go to the cow. And it's like, why? Because of this bag? Okay. Because I don't know, they're aliens.
Alright,
They're like, whatever. I was just checking in. But he kind of loses his cool a
I
little
can't.
bit in there. He's like, fuck this. And he sees the cow and everything. He's like,
I
running
can't
out.
carry
He
anymore.
leaves a bag in an area not quite where it needs to be. Because you want to just set the bag as close to the cow, boom, and
Impossible.
it's done. Kind of. That's how it is very often. Unfortunately, he fucks it up. They realize that he is a agent, And so they all start coming after him, and she blows Adebayo blows one of the helmets up, but it's really kind of too far away to kill anybody. I thought that he was gonna, become a butterfly or die or something. But immediately, because the helmet explodes, every single one of the butterflies then turns around. I guess it makes sense because that's their food source, and they have to
That's
see.
their livelihood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we know from that single explosion that maybe it probably didn't kill the cow completely,
Yeah.
but they don't know that.
Exactly.
So they run over there, and that's when she hits the thing again. And
I
they
can't.
set that up. They said it had multiple charges and everything. And so they're able to kill a lot of them over here at that moment. And then that's when we get our big action scene. It was awesome. It was graphic. I mean, you know how I'm saying, I always want to see Wolverine, and they only did it in 1 or 2 films where
I can't.
if you're using claws, if you're using blades, like fucking limbs need to be flying off, and does that with Vigilante. Heads are flying, arms are flying, fucking great. Big, great action scene, satisfying, and but eventually, as he goes to destroy the cow, Vigilante and Hardcore eventually goes down. They get shot up. And I like that it's realistic because I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, look, there has to be some tension. Maybe another team member maybe has to die. So they tease that a little bit. It make it seem like Hardcore is going to die. She's like, takes multiple shots, coughing up blood. Adebayo goes over there to help her. And Vigilante takes some shots in the back. I was like, oh, fuck, is he going to be paralyzed or something? He goes down. And then this is when Adebayo has a moment. She's like, look, these are my friends, and fuck, we have to do something. So she grabs 2 guns. And Economics is like, don't fucking go, are you crazy? And she runs, and you can see him wanting to help. Fuck, okay, I'm gonna go. But he fucking trips over the goddamn fence. And he trips over the fence so hard that his fucking, he breaks his leg, his bone is sticking out of his whole goddamn body.
He had his moment to shine.
Right. Well, he
Went in
gets
the bag.
one more moment. If you didn't notice, he gets one more moment. So Adebayo goes fucking John Wick on everybody.
I was born for this.
Yeah. And I was born for this, gets the moment, but then he does show up. So it turns out he crawled
It's
the whole
locked.
fucking way with the torpedo helmet. So he gets another little thing that he's still contributing to the team, even though he's kind of a fuck up.
He killed a gorilla with a chainsaw.
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't need to do shit the rest of the season. That guy-
Exactly.
yeah.
And,
An alien
and he beat
supergorilla.
up Judo
Yeah.
Master by slamming into him with a car. I thought that was enough.
Beat,
You're a
motherfucker.
part of the
Punch.
you're a part of the team.
Yeah, I thought hardcore was going to be the butterfly infected.
Me too.
Wow.
Me
Like,
too.
oh no.
So that is what happens. Yeah, Adebayo. I like that you fucking hold, because I was thinking
Impossible.
right there, just pull, not just like
Yeah, no,
crush
that
it or
was a
throw
great
it. Don't
scene.
you? Yeah. Just fucking 10 out of 10 material, 9 out of 10 material, and then I'm already at 9, right? And then so they do that, and then Goff does this surprising thing. Suddenly says, so that okay, hold on. So there's a cave in, and that cave in actually piles on top of Peacemaker. He's not Superman level strong, so he's not able to push it all off. He tries, and so Adebayo has to show up with the human torpedo. I thought maybe she'd put it on and like fucking
I can't.
torpedo through there to push him, but she's more crawling. She manages to find him, but it's not Adebayo saving him, it's Goff. And then they're fighting a little bit. He's fighting her. We've seen one-on-one a butterfly can take. It's a losing battle a little bit.
Impossible.
And she's choking him. And then Adebayo shows up and does a human
Impossible.
torpedo. And I was like, oh, cool. This is going
Impossible.
to be so cool. Set up in my head. And then she slams into the other side of the cave. And I was
no,
like,
don't do it.
I was like, good, James. This is how you subvert expectations in a fun way. And Goff actually says, you know what? I have no reason to fight you. Bullshit, number one. Because they're all there to destroy the fucking cow. And she knows that Peacemaker's there. However, there's a reason for it. And that's another thing I like about his writing, is it makes sense. He sets up these character turns. So she takes him to the cow, and she tries to appeal to the goodness in him that she even saw, or he even saw, in the jar. Because I was like, when Plot Point never really went anywhere, it's like, well, maybe Merlin was the bad guy because the butterflies did the peace sign, right? In the jar. And that's brought up again, where she's like, the reason why we're doing this invasion is because our planet was destroyed by our leaders and stuff, and we're seeing, and we needed a new planet, so we came here. And we started seeing your leaders doing this kind of stupid shit, and so that's why we're in the high-level ranking governments and whatever, and we're trying to steer things right. And it's like, please help us. And they want he to be the third set of hands to teleport them away. What did you guys think about this reveal? Do you think you would maybe support them?
I mean, no one believes
I
that
didn't
they're bad
know.
guys. So I mean, like I knew that they'd be like,
I
well,
need
from
a
our
key.
perspective, you're the bad guys. It's like, yeah, I knew that was kind of coming.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I didn't expect him to help them. But I thought it was going to be for way more of a lowbrow reason later on. He's like, no, I actually almost didn't like when he's like, I killed them because I thought they would hurt you. I wanted him to say something dumb like, I don't like bugs, or just something dumb. It was just like, it felt like it fit the character a little bit.
Yeah. But yeah, they were strengthening the fact that now he'll do anything, not for peace and justice, but anything for his friend. So he shoots her, and then it makes the Adebayo voice activation do the human torpedo through the cow's heart, kills the cow. Now they have no more food. So any bugs that are left in the world are gonna fucking die out if they don't manage to get in their little spaceships and go back home, which is
The
apparently
Sisterhood
real.
welcomes
So
you.
anyways, he chooses to kill the cow, and Goff survives though. You know, it's coming out of the mouth, and he looks over at it, chooses not to kill it, and then that's when we get our scene of when they're all, you know, hurt, and Harcourt is still alive, but just barely, and Vigilante shows up, what's up, guys? And he's hurt, and it's like, God, okay, yeah, there's some plot armor involved here, but honestly, I didn't want any of these characters to die. We already got one major member of the team to be killed, because there's 17 members, and so Myrn died, and the 7th is Eagly, if you're wondering. So the Justice League fucking shows up, but he's like, you're late, dickheads, you know, being Peacemaker, and I was like, go fuck yourself, go fuck a fish, man. And he's like, what? Who started this rumor? And Flash was like, yeah, but you do fuck fish. It's like, what? How do you know that, Flash? Are you spying on us?
Go back in time.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
And then I had this. I went on a little mini rant. Melissa knows. I started talking about what the fuck, man. Why they put him in shadow? It's like, just give the guy his fucking contract. Like, why do we have to do this shit? But even Gal Gadot, who we know is gonna get another movie, is in
I
shadow.
can't carry
So
anymore.
that's how they can kind of wipe it away. No, we're not doing it because we're in contract dispute with Henry. It's just we can only afford these two, and these two are the movies that are coming out now, so let's do a joke with that. I don't know what went on there. If all 4 of them
Impossible.
showed up in glory, it would have been fucking amazing. It would have been 11 out of 10. Anyways, it wraps up in a nice way. So now we go to the individual wrap-up scenes. Well, first he says, I did it because I did it for my friends. And then he makes up with Adebayo. Adebayo betrayed him, but then they make up, and he says, don't tell me, but you're my second best friend. And then she kind of exposes the whole suicide mission thing and her mother. And we get a cameo from actual Amanda Waller, because I was thinking, okay, you know, are we going to see a scene of her on the other side of the phone as she's handing the phone back and forth? I was
Afternoon.
like, okay, they probably didn't get her, but they did get her, because she was at the beginning of the series,
Yeah.
and now she got her at the end. And then Peacemaker goes to Harcourt's side.
I can't.
Puts her hand out and potential relationship plot line for season 2. Economics, I don't know where he went.
He went back to the home base of the Suicide Squad, to the prison.
Okay, because there was a prison, and I was like, okay, so he goes back to his office, basically.
Impossible. I can't.
Yeah, and he goes back to his menial fucking job, but he's got the picture of the team there, and he's like, you know, I'm a part of a team now. And then we do one plot line that we thought was like, why do you keep putting this in here? Judo Master, go.
Impossible.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Another thing. It's like, what is the purpose?
I don't know.
It's like they say, it's like, well, we explained to Judo Master what we're doing.
Yes,
So now
I
he's
did
on board
appreciate
with us.
that. I was like, don't fucking finish the series without, you know, telling me something about Judo Master. Because we thought it was a butterfly. Can't be a butterfly. Love the Cheetos. Flaming hot. You love it. And, but Yeah, he was on board because he's like, look, I don't want our country to go to shit and our planet to go to shit. So
now
that's why he was there.
what's
But he's
gonna be his
crying.
purpose now?
Exactly. He's
crying.
crying.
Kill
And then,
Peacemaker.
yeah, so that will probably be set up in season 2. Vito Mensa will come back, and I guarantee he's going to join the team. I thought at some point they would
Me
have him join the team
too.
here, but no.
Because of the way the intro looks
Exactly.
like, I was like, okay,
He's
this
holding
gotta
him on
be-
his
so
shoulder.
He's gonna join the team.
Yeah. And then he cries at all the dead
Impossible.
butterflies in
Impossible.
the aftermath. And then he and Peacemaker hang out again, throw some bombs in some cars and their way to blow off steam. And then Harcourt is learning how to walk again, so we know that she's not disabled and or not able to do her badassery in season 2. People are like, she's part of it. I think so. Especially since Melissa brought this point up. Who is Harcourt, the actress?
Oh yeah, because I was googling James Gunn and I saw on Wikipedia that his partner is Harcourt.
Yeah.
The actress.
I didn't know that. So they're in a relationship, and I was like, oh, that's why she's in it. So they've been dating. I was like, what? Did they meet on this set and then they got together? No, they've been dating since 2015. And apparently, James Gunn was like, but I thought James Gunn was just,
I can't.
he had dated Pam from The Office
He was
before.
married
He was
to
always
Pam.
married to Pam from The Office. But then didn't she get with Jim?
I don't
She's
think
married to
so.
someone else on the show.
Okay, that was right. That was just on the show that she got with Jim. Anyways, so we're definitely gonna see her in season 2.
I can't.
Goff visits Peacemaker. So it flies
I am
in.
overburdened.
Got a little bit of the juice left, the food left, but that's it. So that's a pretty depressing ending, but it's left hanging. Maybe butterflies can factor in a cameo or a small way in season 2, or Goff is just gonna die. And
He's probably got more jars in there.
I don't think so. I think that they made it a purpose for. Okay, that's the last of the liquid. This is a filmmaker language showing you that this is it. If he's got a bunch of jars in there, then maybe it could become a pet for a while. But I think it's more like a depressing thing, and they'll resolve that in season 2. Then the dad sits down next to him, really resigned. I think his attitude here is a little bit of a teaser and a hint towards what's
Impossible.
gonna go on, conflict and hopefully a resolution and a makeup between all of this emotional damage and hurt. So because of all that, I was like at a 9 out of 10, and I'm a 10 out of 10. So let's just go for that episode. Let's go to season ratings overall. That's it.
This is 9 for me. I really enjoyed the action, the comedy. James Gunn does it again.
Yeah,
He made me care about a character I didn't care about twice.
twice.
Peacemaker and Vigilante.
Yeah,
Those guys are fucking amazing.
I do love
love them.
Vigilante. Yeah.
Yeah, so it was a 9. It grew on me. At the beginning, I was like, I don't care about this character. He's so fucking stupid, but he became a lovable, stupid character that I grew to love.
Mm-hmm.
9 overall for me.
For me, it was something
I
that kind of
can't.
came out of left field. I wasn't excited for this series. I didn't necessarily. I mean, we had a whole. We have a really busy schedule with all the other shows that we're watching, but this quickly became the one that I was actually looking forward to watching.
Yeah, every
And
week.
so I was struggling between an 8 or a 9, but I
can't.
think that just the fact that it completely surprised me, and I mean, for Guardians of the Galaxy, I don't even care about that kind of thing, and seeing how he can just take characters and make them endearing and interesting is really nice. And I think his combination of action, humor done the right way. Is kind of what the DC. I mean, DC's a mess, and I think they're putting out like.
In live action films.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah,
Yes,
any,
there's
any,
little
any,
asterisks.
but it's like we've seen so much garbage from them. They have people that are writing movies for them. It seems like this is
Impossible.
and this is something.
Except for Batman. Outside of Batman. Batman's doing great.
the new one.
No, the old one. I love the Nolan North Batmans. I even love the Michael Keaton Batmans.
Yeah.
Batman's doing great. And honestly, Superman doing great too. Okay, so what we're saying is the DCEU is a mess.
Yeah,
I'd say.
Yeah, the DCEU. I mean, I think the last 2 movies with Batman in it have been fucking awful. Like Batman
yeah.
v Superman, like all of those movies, just most of them have been bad.
I
And so to
agree.
see someone come in and kind of breathe life into it and show
Yes.
that they can be done in a way, and not the Marvel way, like they can be their own thing and it has to be separate. This is nice. So like I really like the series. I'm hoping they can do the same thing in season 2.
9 out of 10.
9 out of 10.
Okay, well, I didn't initially watch this to review it,
Yeah.
so I feel like it's
I know, I
a
dragged
little
you in here.
unfair. This is probably also so I'm not on my phone watching these things, so I have to pay attention. I see you. I don't have a lot to compare it to because I don't watch a lot of superhero. I don't know the DC.
But that's why
But-
I want your opinion, because there's somebody from the outside who's not familiar with the comic books and the DC universe,
Okay.
and then boom, you're thrown into the middle of it. How does that work out? How did you know?
I found myself really intrigued. You know, there was a lot of substance. to
I
it.
can't.
Everything that he does is like the manifestation of his brother. You know, the hair metal and the I don't know.
He's like a big
I can't.
kid, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And you can see why. So we never got time to fucking fully develop.
Yeah.
And all the piece of shit stuff that he did in the content that you didn't get to see is somewhat redeemed here, you know, and you start to see, you know, why he was the way he was.
Right. But and the humor was for me laughed. I was surprised.
See, this is why I'm
I-
excited
yeah.
about these types of shows, and I do a lot of reviews for it because it's got everything: action, comedy, actually pretty good emotional moments, and great, you know, like imaginative scenes. And James Gunn's really good at that. So what would you give it out of 10?
Out of 10, for
Season 1.
season 1, I'd have to give it a 9
Yes.
overall.
All right. And I also
Impossible.
am giving it a 9. There was a moment there where I was like, can I give this a 10? But as I go through some of the various episodes, some episodes, what we would call the worst episode. There's no real worst episode. It's just some episodes aren't quite as good as the others. The lowest it ever really got for me was like a 7, you know.
Different directors as well, too.
Yeah, and different directors.
That's where it kind of makes it. way-
Exactly, and it kind of a little bit there, but it's all going up and down at a very high level, and so that's why I think if you were to average all these out, it probably comes out to 8, but I do want to bump it to that 9 because of the difficulty of taking the most obscure DC character, and I'm telling you, none of us knew about Peacemaker. You know what I mean? Before the fact, who? Right, and then he did that same thing for Star-Lord, kind of thing,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So he is a proven quantity, and it's a breath of fresh air from, like Alex was saying, Zack Snyder. Look, no, I don't want Zack Snyder anywhere near DC anymore, and I would like for James Gunn to become, sort of a caretaker of some of these characters, which he already is for his own stuff, Suicide Squad and upcoming Peacemaker shows and things like that. But I trust people more like James and less like Zack Snyder. I wish James, and I think people have asked him before to handle Superman, and he's had answers that aren't quite encouraging, but I think that he could really do Superman justice. And James, you're the one that could save
can't.
Superman because HBO's giving you a lot of
only
power. WB's getting
Save
you a
us,
lot of
James
power.
Gunn.
What would you like to do next, James Gunn? Just say Henry Cavill, Superman series, let's
Polka
go.
Dot Man intro.
Polka Dot-
He always picks like the weirdest things. So he's just like, no,
Yeah,
man, I want to
I
do a
can't.
10 series thing on Polka Dot Man.
Oh, he
What?
can do Superman with what's his name? The weird ass named little leprechaun. Mr.
But-
Ooh.
Superman. His nemesis.
Leprechaun. Oh yeah,
Mr.
Mixel Pix
Mixel-
Sid. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't even say his name right, so I
Exactly.
would be defeated by him because you're supposed to say his name. Anyways, that would be amazing. Like I imagine all these great DC animation, because DC in the animated area has always killed it, and this feels like a live action version of those DC animations that always kill.
I did watch Batman. I have to say, like,
Yeah.
I don't know anything, but when I was, I don't know, 10, 11, I watched the Batman
Animated
animated
series?
series.
Was
I
that
just remember that.
Kevin
Yeah.
Conroy.
Fucking
Boom.
That was
amazing.
amazing.
That's like a 10 out of 10 for
yeah.
us. And you
It's not
Yeah,
like it. It
that's
is a 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
I love that. All right, guys, that's going to be it for us. Thank y'all so much. Tell us what you thought of Season 1. Do you think Season 2 can be as good or better? I have faith in James Gunn. I think it's going to be as good, but sequels are very hard to do. And we'll see what that other
Not enough
series
mana.
is that he's going to helm. I am encouraged that he's writing and directing every single episode in Season 2. And I hope that as we go forward, we've seen what they're bringing out in 2022. They're bringing out Flash gets his own movie. Aquaman gets a sequel. Dwayne Johnson shows up in the DC universe with Black Adam, which will connect eventually to Shazam. And we're hoping Superman, because Dwayne actually talks about Superman a lot. He wants to go up against him. The Rock.
Yeah,
You gotta let
right.
him do it, right? And then the final thing is Batman, of course, with Tom.
Superwoman is
What's
next
his name?
year?
Tom Holland.
Tom Patterson.
Who?
Yeah.
Robert Pattinson.
Robert
Okay.
Patterson.
Tom
Yeah.
Holland could be Batman. It totally fits. Casting him as all
He could
sorts of
be
inappropriate
anything.
shit anyway.
Just
His
fucking put
movies
him
aren't
in
doing so well,
No.
and we're going to be reviewing Uncharted here soon. So, all right, guys, check out that video, and thank you so much for watching this one. We will see you guys on the next Angry Joe Show. Bye, guys.
Impossible. 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 I can't. Impossible. Impossible. I can't.
Your presence honors me.
Good day.
Good day.
What can I do for you?